Hello, everyone. This is Mrs. Mohrbacher, Academic Advisor with VAVA. In this advisor tutorial, I am going to go over with you how to create a weekly schedule. There are lots of different scheduling templates out there. This particular one is very detailed, and I have used it several times with students in the past. And perhaps you've seen this template or one similar to it. If you need a scheduling template, please make sure to reach out to your academic advisor, and we will love to support you with that. Before we get started putting the schedule together, I do want to share a few tips. First of all, make sure that you establish a wake up and bedtime schedule, so something that's consistent that you can stick to. Second, determine the time you will start and finish your regular school day. Again, we were looking for consistency. Third, decide on a daily exercise time or times, and also a time that you're going to complete your PE logs. Fourth, figure out the Class Connect sessions you plan to attend regularly. Fifth, plan a time to complete assignments right before or after the course's Class Connect sessions. Six, schedule in your breaks. Seven, establish a set time to focus on makeup work and or study for exams. And then eighth, last but not least, make sure that you schedule in time to relax and focus on the hobbies that will keep you motivated to do your schoolwork. Okay, I know that is a lot, but we will talk about each one of those steps and look how you can add them and consider them when you're putting your schedule together. Before we do that, though, I do just want to make sure that we do recognize the importance of sleep. That is something that you need to consider, like I said, first and foremost, when you're putting your schedule together. As a teenager, it is recommended by the CDC that you're getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep. There's so many benefits of sleep. It keeps us in a positive mood. You probably have known from experience that, when we don't get enough sleep, we can be moody and irritable. In addition, we're likely to make positive choices when we get sleep. Those who don't get enough sleep are more likely to drink or drive too fast or do other, risky behaviors that we definitely don't want kids to engage in. Okay, in addition, sleep is good for your cognitive ability. So that's your ability to focus when you're in your class connects. You have quicker reaction time. You're able to be more creative when your body is fresh, alert, and ready to go for the day. In addition, your academic performance, that's your grades, are greatly impacted by the amount of sleep that you get. There's lots of studies that show that teenagers who get an ample amount of sleep are more likely to do better in school. Okay, and then last here but not least, when you don't get enough sleep, you're at risk if you're a teenage driver or having a car accident. Most of the car accidents that teenagers are in have to do with drowsiness, the fact that they have not gotten enough sleep. I know most of you guys are schooling at home, but it still might be a factor. Okay, so as you're putting together your weekly schedule, I do want you to utilize the resources that are already available for you in the OMHS. You have a weekly schedule view here that you can look at by clicking on that My Schedule tab. And then there's also that weekly button there on the top right that you can select to look at that weekly view. Okay, so remember, step one to creating your schedule is to establish a regular wake up and bedtime schedule, which remember we said is most important, making sure that you get enough sleep. Okay, so with that said, the student who I am working with here let me know that she usually wakes up pretty early, around 6 a.m. So that is her wake up time. And then her bedtime, let me scroll down so you can see. Down here is on the early side, which is 8 o'clock is when she's been going to bed. Okay, so for most of you, that might be somewhere between 10 or 11 o'clock, which is totally fine. Again, just making sure that you're getting between 8 and 10 hours of sleep as a teenager. Okay, so when you wake up, you can see here that that's step 1 and 2 is to determine the time you will start and stop your regular school day. So for this student, that time will be 8 o'clock. And I actually recommend that you guys do that as well. Log in sometime between 8 and 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock at the latest, unless you have, some extenuating circumstances. When you log in, make sure that you're checking your school email. And I would also look at your grade book, especially as you get closer to the end of a term, to see if you have any outstanding assignments that you might need to focus on for that day. Usually at the end of the day is what I talk to kids about when I suggest that students do their makeup work. But that can vary, especially if you are considering a math or a foreign language course. This student also starts her morning with exercise, which I also think is a great idea to get you refreshed and rejuvenated for your day. And then she showers right afterwards and has a nice breakfast before getting started. Remember that step 3 of your scheduling tips suggests that you decide on a daily exercise time, which we just mentioned that this student does in the morning. You also want to think about completing your PE logs shortly after your exercise time so that you don't forget what you have done. So you can see here that as after the student has logged in, check their emails and grades, I would recommend that they get started logging their PE or they're logging their exercise right away, completing the PE log, and also any quizzes that they might have for their PE courses. Make sure when you're exercising that you check out our brain breaks that are coming out, which were or videos that the VAVA staff and soon some students will be sharing exercise routines with you virtually. And then, of course, as the weather gets nice, you can always go out, take a walk, ride your bicycle, or do any other fun activities that you love to do for exercise time. We're going to focus now on steps 4, 5, and 6. Remember, step 4 involves figuring out the Class Connect sessions that you plan to attend. 5 is thinking about how you might work a little bit before and after your Class Connect sessions. And then step 6 is scheduling your breaks. Okay, so keeping those 3 items in mind, you want to go to your schedule. And if you're printing out your weekly schedule, you can highlight or circle your required class connects. Obviously, you definitely want to attend those. And then think about any optional sessions that you might need or want to attend as well. Okay, so with those ideas in mind, let's look at our weekly schedule view again. Okay, so you can see here for this student, I have added in their required class connect. So they have on Monday biology CCs, which I've highlighted. Okay, I would also encourage you to do that. And then notice how a little bit before biology, we added in time to work on biology assignments. I think that's a good idea because if you have any questions as you are working that come up when you log into the Class Connect, it'll be a good opportunity to ask those questions and get feedback from your teacher. I also don't recommend working more than an hour and a half or 2 without taking a break. This student usually has lunch around 12 o'clock, so I added in a 12 o'clock lunch break and then gave them an opportunity to revisit biology after taking the Class Connect into consideration. Maybe they received new information or maybe some of their questions were answered. So, after that, you can go back and revisit the course. Okay, so the idea is to sandwich your class connects in where you're working maybe a little bit before or after your class connects. Now, I know it's not always possible to do that because sometimes you might have back-to-back class connects, or there might be other constraints, but that's an idea I want you to think about. And you can see here, on Tuesday, we did the same thing with the student schedule. So they have, modern world history class connects at 11, and then they're working a little bit before and after the class connect session in that course. Same thing with biology and geometry. Notice for the biology class that the student has there's an office hour session, which is optional, right after the class connect. So one thing that I would recommend to the student is that they just go into the office hours and work on their assignments. Sometimes you might think, oh, I don't have any specific question. But because this is a subject that this student is struggling in, it's a good idea to just pop in and maybe work on your assignments while you're in the office hour session. That way, as you're working and questions come up, you can get answers from your teacher in real time. Okay, so again, all of the required class connects are highlighted on this schedule. In addition, I added in one optional session here that the student might be interested in, which is the Viva Voices session, which are our guest speakers that come to speak with us. I know that the student plays the piano, and we have a musician who's coming. So she might be interested in hearing what he has to share. In addition, if you have class connect sessions, for instance, that are at 12 o'clock, and that's when you usually have lunch, I would suggest eating a little before your regular time. I think it's a good idea to try to eat around the same time, because your body establishes that, habit of when it knows that it's hungry. So, try to keep that consistency. I think the more consistency overall that you have in your day, generally, the more successful that you can be. And there's just certain routines that you have established that you don't even have to think about anymore. Okay, step 7 reminds us to establish a time to focus on makeup work and study for exams. And step 8 reminds us to schedule time to relax and to focus on hobbies. So let's look at how we might include this on a student schedule. Okay, so for this particular student, you can see, let me just make that a little larger for you. There we go. You can see towards the afternoon, usually when students tend to get a little tired, we schedule time into her schedule for fun and also enrichment activities. So that might be, in her case, it's playing the piano. For you, it might be taking the time to participate in some type of sport. There are so many different, hobbies that you might be into, whether, photography or dance. Whatever it is, I think the more that you are focusing on your hobbies throughout the day, the more motivated you're going to be able to stay to do your schoolwork as well. One great resource that I like is called outschool.com. They have classes that you can sign up for ongoing, so at any time, and there's all kinds of hobbies on there. My daughter participates in a painting class through that website. My son does a football club. So make sure to check, again, it's outschool.com, and you can email me if you have particular questions about that website. Okay, so in addition to the time for enrichment, you also want to think about time for makeup work. So if you think about going to a brick and mortar school, usually, you're in school. We said, your regular school day would be about, 8 to 3. This students on this schedule will finish up around 3:30 actually. And you want to take some time to relax. I added here time for fun activities or active fun. So that would be, going out for a walk, or, doing something active virtually with it, maybe like the Connect or the Xbox. There's all kinds of wonderful exercise videos that you can find, or even on YouTube. Remember, we have our Brain Break channel that we encourage you to check out. But the point though is that you do want to have enough time to relax in the afternoons. And then, you can have a quote unquote homework time where you focus on your makeup work and study for any upcoming tests and quizzes. It's a good idea to study in chunks and small chunks, as we discussed before. So if you have time built into your schedule for studying, that should help you do better on your tests and quizzes. A couple other things I want to point out. One, as I went in and filled out in time for students to work in each course, notice that I tried to maintain consistency. So you can see on Monday, scroll up so you can see the days. On Monday and Tuesday, the student is working in their English course in the morning at 9 a.m. All right. So when you can, try to maintain that consistency, because I think that helps your brain when it's used to doing something at the same time. Also, as you're starting your day, think about maybe starting with a subject that you're strongest in. I know this student is strong in English, so I thought it would be a good idea for her to start her morning with English when possible. Okay. And then, obviously there's class connects on other days. So that might not always be possible, but it's something to think about as you're putting your schedule together. You can also see this consistency later in the day. So around 1 o'clock, she is usually working in geometry. Now on Thursday, she's got an English class connect. So, she can't always work at that time, but then she jumps into her geometry work at 1:30 on Thursday. Okay. So again, I think that consistency will help you. Fridays are usually light for most of you guys. So that could be a great day to get caught up on some work. This student actually does not have any class connects on Friday. She has a lighter schedule. So I have her starting with the subject that she needs to catch up on the most, which is biology. Okay. Again, don't recommend working for more than a couple hours at a time. So add the breaks in there. Then she's, focusing a little bit on each subject. Again, try as much as possible to keep her regular routines. Some of you guys might decide to work just on one subject a day. If that's your routine, then I encourage you to try that if that works for you. But still make sure you're able to attend those class connects, or maybe you want to try an A-day, B-day schedule when you're working on your assignments. So maybe you do some assignments on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, and then maybe some other assignments on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can play around with this template to see what works for you. But again, I think that consistency is very valuable, especially when it comes to the wake up time and your bedtimes. And please, let us know if you find this helpful. Hopefully so. And good luck in finishing the semester and the school year strong.